If he doesn't want to take fish batter, then we won't take fish batter.
Hello.
Hey.
How's it going, man? I've been
We
filibustering.
did it. Oh my gosh.
Connected.
Wow. That was something. I'm sorry. I'm usually a little bit more tech savvy than that, but I apologize for that.
That's all right.
Yeah, we've had some problems with some people before.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad I'm not the only problem on the block.
No, just you and my dad. So you're in.
Yeah, that's usually
Yeah.
the problem I have.
Discord doesn't make it easy. That you have to like get in the group, and then you have to be friends, and then you can add people like to a group call. So
Got it.
unfortunately, we got to jump through the hoops.
It's all good. It's all good.
It must be a lot nicer weather there than it is here. You're sitting outside. It's hot here.
It's nice right now. It's probably about 70, I think. So it's pretty nice. Yeah, it'll get dark in probably in a couple hours, and yeah. So I'm just watching my little boy here. He's playing. So waiting for my wife to get home. She's supposed to be home an hour ago. So I don't know what's going on.
Is that your only child, or you have more?
This is it. Yeah, he's almost 2. So, yeah, man, it's great. So we're having fun with this dude.
That's a cool age, isn't it?
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking, a decent amount now, and he's awesome, man. He's just a go-getter. So, we're having fun being parents. But anyway,
one of the best days of my life ever was when my son was about that age. I took the day off work, and he and I were just hanging out in my bedroom. He was on the bed with me, and the sun was coming through the windows, and he was really starting to talk. And there was just something about that moment in time that just, you have one of those moments that you just never, ever forget.
Yeah.
It just all poured on me and hit me, the love that I had for this thing. And man, love every second of that 2-year-old phase. That's cute, isn't it?
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great. And I think it's just getting better and better all the time. I think we've got a good one. Like he has fun, and he eats good, sleeps pretty good. I mean, I think we got an easy one. So I think the next one's going to be a hellraiser. So, we'll see what happens there.
Jordan got glitched on mine versus Ben's. On the title.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
We're still sorting out. This podcast. The main thing we want to do with this podcast is the audio, but we want to try to do it live stream too. So the two things kind of a little bit and make it rough sometimes to start.
Nice. Oh, we're live streaming right now, huh?
Yeah.
Yep, live stream on YouTube right now.
Oh, heck yeah. This is embarrassing. I look like a mess.
No, it's us. We're the ones that look like a mess.
Nice. Yeah, anyway, yeah, it's been a busy season. This is a season where I'm sitting in front of a computer a lot, and I'm getting excited for the upcoming season and strategizing and seeing what's going to happen this year. So
awesome.
But yeah.
So this is the first time that all three of us are meeting, actually. So I'm Jordan from Duck Gun Chronicles on YouTube. That's Elliot from Freelance Duck Hunting, and our guest tonight, guys, is Ben Potter from Cana Outdoors.
Awesome. Good to meet you guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Glad to meet you too. We appreciate you coming on with us.
It's a pleasure.
Yep, always great to talk about duck hunting off season. So
yeah, it's just any bit of help we can get with the duck depression is good. So I'm all about these counseling sessions.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's a good name for him. So you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm located here in California, and I kind of grew up in Northern California, a little town called Brentwood. And my dad, kind of got into waterfowling in the 60s. And I think he was in high school, and he kind of his dad didn't hunt, but he met a guy in high school that was a pretty avid waterfowler. And so they were hunting Sacramento Valley and Northern California, far, way up north into Oregon a bit. And yeah, he just got bit by the bug. And so I think my first duck hunt, I think I was 3, and I still can remember that first day that lab bringing a mallard back, and I just remember that lab's head being about as big as, twice the size of me, and just holding that duck, and bringing it in, I was just amazed, just being, it's the best time watching my dad this thing, and he was just like my hero, watching him duck hunt and getting hold of the dead ducks, and kind of a weird thing, I guess, for a 3-year-old to be excited about, but that's just how I grew up, and so yeah, man, I think I remember killing my first honker with a single shot 20 gauge, way up in north of this town called Alturas, and that was an amazing moment with this little dinky gun, and just I think I was 10 or 9 or 10, something like that, and yeah, man, I just been so anyway, I just like kind of been bit by that bug at an early age, and hunting Northern California, there's a lot of, surprisingly, I mean, a lot of the folks I meet out in the South and the East Coast, and don't really seem to realize that how much waterfowling goes on, in California and the Pacific Flyway, and it's busy and crowded like everywhere else, and a lot, all the kind of grew up hunting refuges and different public lands that get pretty busy, but there's a lot of ducks to get after, if you're willing to work for it. And so that was always super fun. And, so I kind of, with what I do, I've always, when I was in college, I started a small business, capturing, doing small films and short films, like local work, and, nothing in the outdoor world. And then I think it was around 2012 that I decided, like, I'm going to start bringing my camera and capturing some of the hunting that I'm doing, and it started very small, like GoPro. And I think on my website, you can still see this like early GoPro cut that I did with just a bunch of random footage from a season, and, that I think lit like a new fire in me for, filmmaking, photography, to, I want to say this was like early days of Instagram or maybe pre-Instagram. I don't know. I can't remember. So there wasn't really a scene yet, where you're seeing like all the talent out there across the country. And it was just cool to kind of get after there and capture what I loved about, getting in the field, and so that, I think, just starting putting some work out there and reaching out to some different, clients that I wanted to work for, and trying to build some relationships and share what I'm about. One thing led to another, and so up to this point, I've had some pretty cool opportunities to get after capturing some stories for, different companies and organizations, and sometimes just for myself, and so yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a summary of the last, 34 years of my life. So,
So is Cana your full-time profession then?
yeah. So with
Explain Cana a little bit more.
yeah, sure. So with that brand, we have actually, so in this, where I live here in San Luis Obispo, California, Central Coast. So we're about 10 miles from the ocean, pretty much smack dab between Los Angeles and San Francisco. So it's this little college town. It's kind of where I went to school and then stayed here and met my wife here. And yeah, so this is where we are, and started the business here. And it just kind of made sense to stay here as far as location wise, to, working all over California and that kind of stuff. But we have 4 different branches to the business, where we have a wedding branch where we shoot weddings, and we have a team that does that. We have it's called actually we pronounce it Cana, but you can call it whatever you want. Yeah. And then we have a Cana creative branch, where we just kind of, we have that's just a little bit of everyone. We work for breweries and pro cycling companies and power tool companies, and I mean, we just did a thing for a local architect recently. I mean, that's really a little bit of everything. And then and we have also another branch called Halay Project, and that's a nonprofit branch where we kind of do films for ministries and organizations, NGOs, whatever we feel like, different kind of needs, reach out for films, and that goes all over the world. And so we have a guy dedicated to that, and that's his niche. And then obviously, Cana Outdoors. So it's kind of the 4 parts that make up kind of what we do. Hold on, my son might have just disappeared, but I'm just gonna walk. And yeah, so that's kind of a little bit about the different parts of what we do, and yeah. So.
How many people work at Cana?
There are five of us that are pretty much full time, and then we have a bunch of contractors that we kind of bring on as needed to come up, and yeah. So
cool. That's really, really cool. It's
yeah,
very, very impressive what you built.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we don't want to pretend to be anything gigantic. We really just have exactly what we need at this point, to create the films that we do, and yeah.
And you're doing it on your own terms, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of, what I think, we've maybe sacrificed some of the securities of working for a larger organization, but I think there's something about getting to decide, what you want to be about, and having that freedom to say, yeah, I'm going to give this a try. It's cool when I hear from a lot of different younger guys, or that are like ambitious and want to get after the outdoor industry or different things, and they're like, I'm trying to get a client and help, what do you do to like kind of pitch something and get it out there? And I'm always just like, man, just start doing it, just start making something that you're passionate about right now. And I think that's just the kind of work that speaks loudest, and the kind of stuff I'm most drawn to is when I see someone really just doing something they're passionate about, and it's not just when a check comes in the door, and it gets in the mail, but obviously we all got to pay our bills, and our time is important and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's a real blessing to get to kind of work for yourself and manage your own schedule, so yeah.
So how much were you like completely hands-on with the Dr. Duck and the
Oh yeah 100% hands-on. I mean, we were it's funny with Dennis, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk with him, but he, I remember it was early days of Instagram and all that, and it was like, for me, it's so funny. It was only like 2, 3, 4 years ago, I feel like, that it was like this. But I remember just looking at like guys holding up a stringer of birds and getting so pumped, like, wow, I got to hunt with those guys. Like, they're killing, I'm coming out of the field with like a couple teal and a gadwall, and they're just holding all green. I'm like, where the freak are they? And at that point, I think I hadn't yet hunted, anywhere in the South. I'd never experienced a timber. You see these pictures and you just kind of like, it's a big question mark. Like, what is that? What kind of duck hunting is that? And being on the West Coast, it doesn't really, you don't really know what to make of it. And but somehow I came across Dennis's feed, Dr. Duck. I love the name. I thought that was awesome. And oh, is that your dog? Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. Good. I got the baby in the background. You have the dog. Yeah, and so came across his feed and it was just like, this guy's awesome. He's working hard. It's funny how you can kind of tell when someone's the real deal, or if they're just really wealthy. And so I guess it was cool to see, nothing against the guys that have the ability to pay for real nice hunts. I mean, if I had the funds, I would do that too. But I saw this dude Dennis just looked like he worked real hard for it, and that was inspiring. And so I think I sent him a message or just commented like, hey man, it'd be cool to this is what I do. It'd be fun to make something with you one day. And and so that one thing led to another, and then he ended up getting out to Texas and joining them and making Dr. Duck, and had thrown the idea at a few brands to see if they want to support it, and it turned out to be a pretty fun film, and met some cool guys through it and got to experience timber for the first time. That was awesome. So he was he is still a great guy to inspiring, and works hard for it, and so
yeah, I think definitely you can tell your passion for it through those films, like hands down. The Dr. Duck films and like the Linguist film. Like those are some of the best I've ever seen
Wow,
in the outdoor industry.
I really appreciate that. I mean, I mean, that's one thing I think is cool about this day is it's kind of humbling. You're like, wow, man, there's a lot of talent out here. And, there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of guys that have talent that I don't think they realize how good they really are, And so I've had opportunities to tell some pretty cool stories. And part of it is just getting to work with great people, I mean, yeah, you work your ass off and you work hard in the field and do everything you can to capture every moment to the best of your ability, and that's what I think I love about capturing the outdoors is you're working with wildlife, you're working with elements, with weather, there's just so many things that are fighting against you versus a staged commercial shoot where you can control everything. I think that's what kind of has drawn me to and kept me filming this kind of stuff is because it's I don't know how to describe it. It's just wild, it's unpredictable. And yeah, so that kind of thing I think is fun, fun to take on those challenges. Especially with like things like the Linguist, there was a hunt we did that's really, honestly, I'm trying to think right now. I don't even think it really made any of the cut in the finished film, but we did a hunt with a guy named Randy Newberg, and he has a TV show and really cool guy, and with Corey Jacobson as well. So we're down in New Mexico, and man, it was just the hardest hunt. I think we hunted or hiked 89 miles in 6.5 days or 7 days almost, and it was so brutal. Like my knees were that place, man. I don't know if I ever want to go back to New Mexico. It's just kicking bowling balls, for miles and miles in the deathly heat. And we saw like a handful of elk, but nothing was really for some reason. Anyway, it turned out to be just totally brutal. But those are the moments you look back and I don't know, for some reason you're like, that was awesome. At least we tried, and put ourselves out there to try to capture some moments. And we captured one bull coming in, but yeah, we just didn't end up making a cut. We wasn't the best of the best. So
a video that I watched today that I really loved, it was Unhooked.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I saw that today. Here's what I loved about that so much. Well, being from Kansas, I've been to the ocean a couple of times, but I don't really have any real experience with it. And when we go hunting or camping, our whole goal is to go as far away from everyone as possible. And we'll shoot a limit of ducks and we'll build a little fire, and the whole point is just to be completely alone. And there was a moment in that video when you guys actually cooked on the boat, and there was some discussions about leaving everything behind. And I was like, I just connected to it. So I was like, that's just how I feel on a much more momentous stage. I mean, the ocean is such a powerful thing that just that moment that you guys were cooking on the boat was such a connection to me that I was like, oh, this is great. Great.
That's cool. I mean, I'm glad you enjoyed that one. We really love that film, and we did. I don't know, for whatever reason, some films kind of seem like they get out there and go the distance, and some they don't, and they don't really catch on, and that's fine. At the end of the day, hopefully we're making our films for ourselves first and foremost, because we love the opportunity. And so it's cool to hear that you like that one, because we just had so much fun there's these islands that are they're about 10 miles off the mainland here, and I could be wrong about that. I think maybe they're closer, but they're called the Channel Islands, and just a really cool, it feels like you're in another country. It's one of those places, like the clarity in the water is a whole different thing. On that trip, I mean, spearfishing is, like, in my opinion, just one of the hardest hunting opportunities you can have. It's, you're holding your breath. You're out of your element, you're in, like, I was out spearfishing just a few weeks ago, and the visibility was pretty bad, and I'm diving down through the kelp, and just right under me goes a little leopard shark, and they're fairly harmless, but just like, here's the 5 foot animal that this is his home,
Yeah.
and I'm just, I don't know. It's just little moments like that are really humbling. You kind of like realize, geez, I'm not really supposed to be here, but I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to hunt these animals, but at the same time, I'm probably being hunted to some extent as well. And there was yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of moments spearfishing, and by no means am I a professional or even amateur. I mean, I'm pretty green to spearfishing, but we've definitely had some cool moments.
Now, you
Getting
guys have
after
great
that.
whites there. Don't you have great whites in that area?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Does
Yeah.
that not go through your mind when you're doing that?
Oh yeah, it does. I mean, I think the times when it really kind of works on you is when the visibility isn't very good, because the white sharks are they're smart. The part where if they can see you, they're not going to mess with you. But if they don't, if if they're sensing something and they confuse you as a seal, then that's where the accidents happen and where people get bit. And there was a lady in, like, just there's this little cove that's about 10 minutes from here, and this lady, I guess, every day would go swimming with these seals out in this bay, and it's a known, like, I don't know, what do you call it, would it be, it's just a known cove to have great whites, and where they just migrate through and they kind of rest there for a while. And anyway, she would do this every single day. It was like her tradition. And just a day, she was out in the water one day with just pretty bad visibility, and sure enough, man, she got nailed, and ended up dying. It's kind of sad, but that was several years ago in our coast. But I think you just, you always try to dive with a friend and watch each other, and anyway, yeah.
And when you have fears, do you
far-fetched
deal with the
duck
fears
hunting,
with
but
like you deal with the fears based on like percentages? Like, well, I know this only happens this amount of time. Is that how you'd mentally deal with it?
yeah, I think I'm trying to think how I deal with it. I think part of it maybe just be just probably not the best way to deal with it, ignoring the fear, the factor of it.
Ignorance is
It might
bliss.
be the same way. We were bow hunting in Wyoming a few years ago, and in an area where there's a lot of grizzlies, and same thing. You're kind of like, I'm walking around with a little stick and a string, or I was up in Kodiak last October. That's probably a better example. And there's just the Kodiak brown bears. I think they're the biggest bear in the world. And man, I'll tell you what, there was one moment that really struck me. I think we hunted 7 days. We're bow hunting for just the Sitka black-tailed deer, and we probably saw about 40 bears over that 7-day period. Just from a distance. Nothing really close, but there was this one moment that hit me where we were working up this ridge line and got on the spine of this mountain and looking down on these deer, and it was ripping wind, and as we're kind of, my friend Joel stayed on one side and I was working around the other side of this ridge, and as I'm kind of sliding on my butt down to get this little, I don't know, this little bank, and to get close to these deer, I look to my right and I see a couple hundred yards off, I mean, maybe 200 to 300 yards away, I see two boars fighting on their hind legs, and there was 3 cubs and a sow, and I think there was a carcass over there or something. And dude, it just put chills down my spine. I mean, at that moment, I was like, I'm just not supposed to be here at all. Like, this is their realm. I mean, this is where they rule. And then, so I sat tight, and all I had, and it's ripping windy. It's like 30, 40 mile per hour. I had bear spray in my little, pouch, and my bow. And then my friend Joel had the 44 mag. And he was a couple hundred yards away. And so I'm laying there, and then the cubs started running up to the top of the spine, and I just watched them. I thought they would go up and over, and then the cubs took a hard right turn my direction and are running along the spine. It kind of bowls around to where I was. And so I was just like, hell no, I'm out of here. And I slipped over this bank and just booked it back to where Joel was. I know you're not supposed to run, but it's just all I could think of doing. And got back, and I was like, bears, and he's like, yeah, I see him. I'm like, no, we're out, man. Like, we're done here. We're done on this mountain, And I think, yes, if I was alone, I mean, it's cool to see when guys like go get, I hear, it's pretty, I'm sure it's real fun to get into places like that and be by yourself and experience a moment like that. But I don't know. It was nice knowing I had a buddy with me with a gun, and same thing with spearfishing. Having someone watching your back and keeping an eye out. It's just, if anything, I mean, when we were filming Unhooked, it's gonna make me sound like a freaking idiot, but we were filming Unhooked.
Oh.
I lose you? Oh yeah, I'm back.
Oh, there you're back.
I'm back. Okay, sorry about that. My friend Dane was we were on the sailboat, and he had spotted a hammerhead shark that was fairly close to our boat. And so he was like, man, this would be the coolest footage if we could get shots of this hammerhead. You hardly ever see him in this area. And, it was kind of an El Nino year. So there were marlins and just fish you don't usually see in this area up where we were. And so we got in a little dinghy and tried to get close to this fish to get some underwater shots. And he told me he would hold the spear gun out in front of me in case it came at us. And anyways, it ended up, the hammerhead ended up kind of veering away, thank God. So it's just a stupid idea in the moment. You're like, gosh, the footage would be so insane, And
awesome.
Yeah. So anyway,
how much hunting would you say you do beyond, like, or are you filming like all the time when you're hunting, or kind of what's your split on that?
Yeah. When I have a client, paying me to do something, create a piece for them, I mean, I'm very rarely, hunting at all. I mean, I was actually out in Kansas. We were filming for a piece, a film we have coming out in July. And, it was a real nice place, and getting some footage, and I was just all business. And for one moment, I was like, yeah, I think I've got the clips I need. I think I shot one duck with one shot, I was like that. And sometimes that's all you need, I mean, it's weird how, and I think a lot of guys can testify to this, but it's weird how fulfilling capturing something on video can be, to where you almost feel like I don't really need to pull the trigger, last year after filming The Linguist, The Linguist was my first time ever being ever elk hunting. So that really lit a fire in me to really learn more about elk and how to hunt them and call them in. I think the calling aspect on that whole, that's what the film was about, right? It was just honoring these guys that kind of ignited this this style of hunting elk by calling them in, and that just, it blew my mind. And so the next season, last minute, I just bought an over-the-counter tag and went to Oregon and hunted for 7 days by myself, or a couple days with a friend that lived up there, but for the most part, just got after it, and that was cool. I was there were no bears there, so that was nice. There were wolves, but yeah. But it was, that was probably one of the few trips I've taken in a while where I've just kind of got after it myself. I'll always bring my gun, just in case it's, we feel like we've accomplished what we do. But yeah, I don't know.
So the way probably, you said that, you said you always bring your gun. So that implies that the camera is the first thing and the gun's the afterthought, right?
Yeah, it's kind of how it goes. I like last season, I think I slipped away and did like about 3 local hunts, and when I say local, that's like a couple hours away from where I live, and hunted just some public refuges that it's called over in the they call it the Valley, and yeah, and thankfully every hunt we did, we had good success and had a lot of fun and killed some birds. So yeah, so last season, you really gotta, it's funny, I don't know, you gotta just really determine, I think, going into it, if you're on the fence 50-50, something's gonna like suffer. You know, you're either not going to get the footage you need, or you're not going to feel like you had much of a hunt. You know, so I kind of go into the project saying, you know, what's my goal? Am I here to like really just bear down and capture the footage I feel like I need for a film, or am I here to just for myself and I want to hunt a little bit and even film a little bit for myself? You know, I feel like I said, sometimes that's just as fun for me to take someone that maybe hasn't hunted a lot. You know, I got to take a friend last year who's hunted like maybe once or twice before, but nothing real serious. And he got to shoot a bunch of ducks, you know, and that was pretty rewarding to get to just let someone else get after it, you know, and shoot a little photos just for fun. So, yeah.
Now, being from Kansas myself, when you were in Kansas, were you guys on private, or you don't have to tell exactly where you were, but private or public?
Oh, we were on a little bit of both, actually. A little bit of private, a little bit of public, as far as I understand. A few different areas, but yeah. But
nice.
Yeah, good time.
Has some good opportunities.
Yeah, man. I mean, we had a heck of a time. I mean, we did some field hunting and for some geese. I mean, gosh dang, there was just the amount of ducks and geese out there is pretty overwhelming. I mean, and it seems like there's just a lot more land and opportunity to get after it out there than out here. Everything's so tied up, you know, private.
What time of the year were you guys in Kansas? What month?
When was that? Was it January? Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really getting full in January for sure.
Yeah. A lot of lesser geese and snow. I don't know. We didn't shoot any snows. All lessers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, but I love it. Good times.
Awesome. So kind of bring it back to your films and duck hunting.
Yeah,
kind of like what would you say what is your goal when you're going out to shoot a duck hunting film? Like, what are you trying to, like, you know, tell, like, what are you trying to tell in your story, or, you know, what's the thing that makes you tick on these films, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mean, my goal is always asking, you know, I guess, you know, obviously this just sounds super generic, but just what's the story, you know? At this point, you know, like I said, like years ago, you could go on like Facebook or Instagram and see a bunch of someone holding up a stringer of ducks and be like, wow, where did he go? And now I just feel like a lot of the media that gets out there kind of has ruined us, you know, to an extent where we become kind of numb to what something is a really beautiful photo or that kind of thing. But nowadays, the stuff that catches me is when you get to like either see a photo and say, man, there's a story behind that person, or you're learning something new about an area. You know, I think, yeah, it's my big goal is, yeah, like I want to tell stories that are unique. I mean, getting to tell stuff like The Linguist and Dr. Duck. I'm gonna walk and try to find my son, make sure he's not gonna leave me here. But yeah, you know, stuff that, you know, getting to places that people just don't usually go. I mean, I get stoked on that. You know, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, and sometimes I guess too, you know, I go in with a plan, sometimes a script, and you're able to like say, you know, here's my story, but then you learn something new, and you're able to say, man, there's maybe a different story here that we didn't quite see at the beginning. And being flexible, that's been something I've definitely learned over the years of just learning to, I don't know, keep my eyes open, you know, as a filmmaker, and you become more of a, you know, not just a filmmaker, but a journalist of saying, you know, maybe there's something, a bigger story here than I first imagined. You know, and so that was a little bit of The Linguist, I think, you know, even, you know, telling films like Dr. Duck, and, you know, back in the day, I went into it just saying I want to make a duck hunting film, and came out like saying, you know, I don't know, just learning more about the people that hunt the timber and their passion. And, you know, that was inspiring. It looks like the little man made it. So good to hear. He's good to go. Yeah.
Awesome.
Right, he came back. So that's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know if that's a crappy answer, but, you know, it's just hard to pinpoint exactly. There's not like really a formula that I go off of. It's more saying like, you know, what do I think is the strongest thing in this story, and I really hone in on that. But at the same time, kind of keeping your eyes open and saying what else might be here to inspire the audience, you know. But yeah, I mean, I'm not like against, I capture the kill shots and I mean, it's part of hunting, but I'm not that bummed if, like, you know, I've been on hunts where guys are like, oh man, I'm so sorry we didn't kill that many birds or this or that. And I'm like, I could care less, you know, like we don't kill anything. That's fine with me. It's like, for me, that it's getting to create these portraits of people or places that's special, because you're getting to preserve something, you know, a moment in time, and that people will remember. Like, you guys have seen some of my work, you know, you're going to think back and remember these people and these faces. They're going to stick in a way. So being able to be the one to help, like, kind of create those you know, memories, you know, for other people, and help really do justice to people's stories is pretty rewarding, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I was watching more of your content, which I was familiar with your content before I knew we were going to have you on, but then as I knew I was going to be talking to you, I just wanted to watch more things, and that's when I saw. And I didn't realize that you had done a collaboration with Slade Northwest. And,
back in the day,
Yeah. Now I've loved his videos for quite a while.
Cool.
Wish he did more than he did. The question I had is, have you guys were you friends before the collaboration, or is that how you met, and have you forged a friendship since?
Yeah. No, that's kind of how we met. I mean, I think back in the day, you know, I was looking to see like what was out there. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of people really pushing the envelope, you know, doing it different than what I think the typical, you know, TV industry has done with hunts. There seems to be kind of a formula with those kind of shows that a lot of people like, and that's cool. But those guys up in Washington, outside of Seattle, you know, they were, I don't know, I was attracted to the style and the music, and you know, it was just something different, you know, and it was obviously their own thing. And even that place is like, you know, the Pacific Northwest, whole different thing than hunting in the South, or even hunting where we are. And so I just reached out and was like, gosh, I love your films, like, and it'd be awesome to meet one day, you know, and try to do something. And so, you know, I just put myself out there, and so then I think what happened, it was several years ago, that who's now a really good friend of mine, this guy Mather, who's their producer and, you know, filmmaker. He actually writes all their music as well. He's an incredibly talented guy.
He writes their music?
Yeah, that's all his original. All the tracks are his original.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, and that resonated.
Their music defined their videos almost, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally, and it's kind of the same vibe with our films. You know, my business partner actually writes all the music for our work as well, and so there was a real you know, affinity, I think, right there, where we both got to, you know, just appreciate each other's hard work and creating films that were different. And this guy's carrying me along now. Anyway,
would you agree that your style matches up somewhat similarly to Slade, or there are subtle differences that you see?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we totally match up. I mean, I think that's what kind of drew us to like reach out to each other and say what's up, and you know, I think they're a little different, you know, and I think Mather, who does the films, he has a real good taste for documentary style editing, like really letting scenes breathe and really letting moments like sink in, you know, where I think sometimes I kind of maybe lean a little bit more to the cinematic. You know, that's just kind of where I find myself naturally going. It's like creating like a real cinematic looking thing, you know, that both are good. I think the sacrifice and somewhere the way I kind of tend to gravitate toward is sometimes it can come across inauthentic, you know, it can come across like kind of contrived, like you're just setting up a beautiful scene, you know, but sometimes with documentary style, it's like guys can kind of maybe some people get bored and say, oh, what's next? And we're so used to things happening so fast, you know? Yeah. But honestly, like, I really dig the slowing things down, bringing in more audio, you know. That was, you know, when I was cutting the linguist, you know, doing that edit, that was a big goal, is turning that into more of like just really bringing people into the moments of the hunt versus everything being picture perfect light, perfect color, you know what I mean? Perfect slow motion. And I think hunters, especially guys that, you know, we love to see beautiful, gorgeous slow motion water. That's always epic. We love to see ducks just, you know, giving up and, you know, perfect come through timber in slow-mo. That's great. But I think we can appreciate the downtime, you know, when it slows down and it's harder and you're waiting. And I really love how Mather does that with Slade. He really lets the reality of the hunts like set in, you know, and for the viewer. And so his films are a little longer than mine. Cal, sorry, come here. I think my wife texted me and she's very sorry.
So, well, you've been doing great. That's not a problem at all. I like seeing all the.
Yeah,
you're doing an awesome dual job here.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that, you know, we got Mather had another shoot or something back in the day several years ago, and he was like, "Hey, do you think you could cover for me on this deal?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, that'd be awesome." And I got to meet Alex, who was kind of their one of the main guys, and Riley, and just awesome dudes, man. I mean, they're simple guys that just love to hunt ducks, you know, and they don't take themselves too seriously. They don't, you know, there was a lot of affinity, you know, in that way. We're just guys that love it, you know, and at the same time, we love capturing it and doing it justice, you know. I think that's a slogan or something I've thrown on my website in a while back. It's just doing creative justice, you know, to the outdoors is something I'm really passionate about. You know, it's like, not to, I don't want to just sound like a jerk and just point fingers at the way other people have done it, but I just think there's more, not that maybe the TV industry or anything that preceded, you know, what's happening now was wrong or the wrong way to do it. But I just think there's always more you can do, you know? You can always push the envelope that much more. And I think it even from what, you know, what Slade has done, what maybe I've done, I'm excited to see what, you know, even the next generation is going to continue to do to inspire me and help me like get out of my box, you know? So,
yeah, that's an awesome way of putting it, though. I love the way you put that, doing the outdoors justice with your films. And they definitely do. I can see exactly what you're saying. And yeah, I can definitely say your films do the outdoors justice.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we, you know, we love what we do. And so it's, I think that's where it's got to happen first. You got to love it. If there's a reason, like, there's a lot of stupid reasons, you know, money's a stupid reason. Fame is a stupid reason. I don't know. There's probably a lot more stupid reasons to do this kind of stuff. But I think if guys start out and end with, I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it, and I want to share my you know, take on the outdoors with others, then awesome. I want to see that film, you know. I want to see those photos because I know it's has more connected to it than just you know, something that it's just temporary, you know. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but
absolutely.
My wife just got here, so I'm relieved of babysitting.
You've done an awesome job.
Yeah. I can't believe how you've managed that.
That is one well-behaved little boy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know either, but thanks for bearing with my shaky view. You know, hopefully everyone's not seasick.
So one more question kind of on this general topic. Do you feel like then in the last 5-10 years, there's been a massive transition in how the outdoors is being filmed, and kind of you and maybe Slade and on the professional side of it, and some changes going on YouTube and how the non-professionals are doing it as well, as things are just shifting? Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think you got a number of things contributing. You got technology is always excelling so fast. There's so much you can get into a pretty nice camera setup for a couple grand. That's going to be comparable to some $50,000 cameras. I mean, it's crazy what you can really accomplish with a low budget nowadays. Trying to think, I think too, just the amount of information that can be shared. I mean, you can learn literally whatever you want to learn by just Googling. You can learn how to edit. You can learn how to do effects. You can learn how to do After Effects. It's gnarly. I mean, how much is out there. And, and that's been that way for a while. But I think a lot of guys are realizing, that, they see something. And, I mean, really, that's how I started. I saw some stuff that was being done. I mean, some of the early films that I remember when CCAT Creative did Searching for West. So I was like, wow, they did something different there, that hasn't really been done. I don't know if you guys seen that one from a while back with Sika, but it was just, a really beautiful film that pushed the envelope, and did something that hasn't really been done yet. And that sparked something in me to think about, like, what can I bring to the table, And so I think a lot of guys and gals are in that boat right now, saying, what do I have to offer? Because everyone's unique. Everyone sees the outdoors and in their own way, and that's what's cool. We can't, you can't merely, mimic any, you can mimic people only for a little while, but eventually you're going to be forced to say, what do I love about this? What's really drawing me to this place? So, yeah. So yeah, man, it's exciting time. I think it's cool. It's a cool time to be doing this, and hopefully I got a lot more years ahead of me, telling these stories and being a part of the, filmmaking process. But yeah, we'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I think right now is a good time to jump to the lightning round. What do you got? Something else to add before we do that, Elliot?
No, I think
the lightning room.
The lightning round. Yep. So
okay,
it's
right
quick questions, quick answers.
Okay, cool.
All right. What gun do you shoot?
I kind of split my season between shooting my SBE1, and also I have a year ago I purchased a 400. So I know that's two very different guns, but I really love them both. They're both yeah. But you want me to pick one?
No, that's fine. That's a fine answer.
Okay.
If you split them, then you.
Right on.
What ammo do you use?
I shoot a fair amount of heavy shot. And if I run out, I feel like I end up shooting Kent. And so, yeah.
What
drastic ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Maybe part of that depends on where my bank account's at. So
yeah.
What shot size do you use?
Well, that all depends on what I'm trying to kill. I think predominantly I try to shoot B. I like, when it's real windy, I think like shooting a little bit heavier shot, it has a better kill range. Maybe you have a few less pellets, but and two, I shoot an extra full Jebs choke, and I really love that. It's just, I feel like I've had a lot more kills and less cripples, in the last few years shooting that. Yeah.
What do you shoot, 3 or 3.5 inch shells?
I shoot 3.5. I mean, I don't. Yeah, why not? It's like you do so much work to get to that point. Have an opportunity to pull trigger. I would prefer everything I can throw at that bird. So that's just, I used to work for a rancher way back in the day, and anyway, he said something to me, and he's hunted all over. And anyway, it's more with like rifles, and he told me there was no such thing as heavy shot or overkill, and that's kind of stuck with me. It's like our goal is to kill and to harvest an animal, however you want to say it. And so, yeah.
So when you shoot a duck at 15 yards with extra full, and 3.5s. Do you ever?
Yeah.
I mean, does it ever just completely obliterate them?
I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna lie that I haven't done that before, but I think
Typically it doesn't.
also you don't shoot, you know, if they're right in your face, you're not gonna, if you know what you're shooting, you just shoot them in the head, or if you can, or just give them a few more seconds to get out there before you just straight up destroy the meat, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I think more of that may have happened as a junior hunter and a younger hunter. I'm just being stupid and and nervous and excited in the moment and just making a pillow in the sky. But you know, you know, it's wait a little bit and yeah, but it's fun being able to reach out a little bit too and take those shots that maybe you can't take with a, you know, a smaller shell or a, you know, a more open choke. So
Okay. All right.
yeah.
Face paint or wow, face paint or no face paint?
I'm a fan of face paint. I mean, I feel like my face is shining when I'm out hunting, especially on public land, and you're looking across, you know, sometimes 200-300 yards out. Sometimes like I won't see the hunter, but I will see a glowing ball of light that's reflecting off someone's face.
Yep.
So to me, it's like I would rather wear face paint than wear a mask, you know, because I sweat a lot. If I'm chasing a cripple, I'm sweat. I don't want anything else on my face. I mean, stash is enough. And so it's like, you know, yeah, I'll paint up. I have no shame in that. It's you know, I don't do any cute designs like some of the stuff I see out there, but I do a pretty crappy face paint job. But I just don't want to be glowing, you know, when I'm looking, and I can't help myself sometimes. I keep my head down. I tried to look at the reflection on the water and see those birds working, but I just can't do that. I gotta yeah, I gotta see them a little bit. And then when you're calling, you know, knowing, you know, when to call at certain points and what kind of calls, you gotta be able to watch the birds a little bit. And so, you know, I paint up my dome all I can. But yeah.
Cloudy day or sunny day?
Ooh. That's a good question. I would say so where we hunt, sunny days, unless it's really cold and really windy, sunny days are pretty much a bust. That's just kind of how it is on the West Coast here. You know, we being in California, especially Central California here, we don't get a whole lot of really cold days. And it was interesting. It kind of blew my mind the times I went into the timber and was learning about that hunting. Guys were like, we want it clear and we want it sunny. Because there was a morning, I think we woke up and it was just dumping rain and it's windy. And I was like, hell yeah, this is going to be a hunt. And we were hunting timber. And guys were like, it's not even worth going out. I was like, are you guys crazy? I was like, we should be out there hunting, you know, because where we live here, I mean, those are the days that you really smash them. And so I think just growing up, I'd pick a cloudy day with some wind, if possible. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that wraps up the lightning round. You got any to add, Elliot?
Well, I was just going to add to the sunny cloudy thing because this is something that's always interesting to me. So I had a website developed where you can get on and log all of your stats, and one of the things that you keep is weather. So we're just kind of still in the development phase of it, but we've had somewhere around 1,000 hunts logged, and right now the sunny for the 1,000 hunts has been better than the cloudy, but it's only like 0.2%. It's very by far the biggest determinant has been the wind. If you if you look on like no wind versus a lot of wind, I mean, you go from like 3.5 ducks a hunt to 2 ducks a hunt. It's just a massive difference. But anyway, I think it's super interesting because some people like you will say cloudy. Because when I grew up, it was always just like you said, you know, if you say a ducky day, you're talking low clouds, windy, rainy, and that's what I thought I wanted.
Right.
But then the last 10 years, there's been this big transition of everyone saying, no, sunny, 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 sunny.
Yeah.
And people are saying it so much to the point I've been like, okay, this is a little bit of a fad that people are starting to mimic and say, kind of like, you know, politics. You know, one group says something, you have the same people saying the exact same line. So I cannot wait for this season to get more hunts logged on this site so I can continue to see actual data behind it. You know, what is the truth? Because it's
interesting.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. I feel like the best hunts I can remember are always windy, maybe a little bit of rain, you know, but seeing that chop on the water, ducks fighting that wind, I mean, that's, to me, that's the best. That's the
Yeah,
best scenario.
my personal stats are something like not quite a full duck better, but about 3/4 a duck better per hunt on cloudy days.
Yeah.
That's like 253 hunts I've got logged for myself
Wow.
personally.
Okay.
I know for me personally, even people in Kansas say sunny, but for me personally, it doesn't show for my spot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think
250 hunts maybe
temperature
not be
too.
quite statistically significant, but it's something.
Maybe
Yeah.
you're just
Yeah. I mean,
a worse shot, Elliot, on sunny days.
No, because my shooting percentage holds pretty true on both.
yeah, the sunny days are fun for photography. I mean, it really lights like all those colors up. I mean, that's always fun. But yeah, I'll take the wind any day, you know. So yeah, good
So
time.
All right, if you guys,
that I wanted to say one thing I was gonna share. I don't know why I was so important that I share this, but so you were talking about harsh conditions, and
Yeah.
as we start intaking other people's content and seeing them as a person, you naturally just kind of, I mean, we all naturally judge other people, not in like a way
Mhm.
of in a negative sense, but you know, as you see other people in their videos, you're just kind of like, oh, is this the kind of person that I would want to hunt with or not? You're just thinking that in your subconscious, whether you're actually really thinking about it or not. And I was
Right.
seeing some of your videos, and I watched the first time I actually saw you was on a podcast with the Average Waterfowlers, which
Oh yeah.
they're not doing it anymore. And then I
Okay.
watched a couple others, and you were talking about harsh weather conditions in this podcast.
Uh-huh.
And I had never ever heard anyone articulate it like this. I think that
Oh, okay.
your vast majority of duck hunters, when it gets really rainy or really crappy, they will stay at home. But then there's a group, and I could tell from what you said that you're in this group, and I'm certainly in the group, that is the harsher the conditions, the more that you're having fun.
Yeah.
And you went into this whole rant on this podcast because you were trying to
Yeah.
film in the rain or something. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you're
explaining-
talking about.
Yeah, you were explaining it to where I could tell that you had that love of the harsh conditions that I've never been able to articulate. But I like, my favorite days were the hard rain days.
Yep.
And you articulated in that so well. And you said that, that's when I was like, okay, all right, this guy, all right.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's like I don't know. Maybe we're just like the dumb ones, but you know, everyone else is smart, staying home, staying warm. I mean, but there's just something about, I think, in us that we love. All hunters have this, you know, like we love to suffer, you know, and there's something about suffering and pushing your body and your mind and your equipment to a point that is not necessarily natural. Like where I live here in San Luis Obispo, like there's a small little club of us that hunt, you know, and I would say hunting is not like looked down upon in this area, but there's not a lot of people hunt. And a lot of my friends, you know, they love eating the meat that I bring out of the field, and I'll tell them about, you know, where I got it or the hunt a little bit, and they just they don't get it. They're like, why would you get up at 2 a.m. and go out, like literally chase a storm, you know, and try to get in the middle of that storm? You know, it doesn't make sense, and then it makes you think maybe I am crazy, you know, and but there's just something in us that like as hunters, we like love to push everything, you know, to the point where is this possible? And I think that's where I say, like, I don't really care if it, like that hunt I think I was talking about was in Idaho on the Snake River, and it was just the temperatures dropped real fast. It was it might have been that one, or it might have been a Montana following up on that film we did called Duck Trip, and and we the temperature and the weather progressively got worse and worse and worse, where in Montana, and we ended up hunting the coldest day I've ever hunted in my life. It was negative 26, and our phone said feels like negative 44 because there was wind. So it was just unbelievable cold. I mean, my cameras were shutting down randomly, and it was just it was ridiculous. And that was maybe a little bit foolish, but I think when the hunt on the Snake River, there was something about like this bombing, you know, snow in our face and the water and the dog, and just everyone's fighting it together, and there's this camaraderie that you build, you know, in that moment. Or like we came out of there with maybe 5 or 6 ducks out of 4 guys. So, I mean, you could say it was a poor hunt, but I think it was a freaking awesome hunt.
Yeah.
Like, I had a ball. I mean, seeing those ducks commit in weather like that, you know, on this, because they're trying to get out of the weather too, coming off these ponds and fields that from feeding and landing in this real river where it was kind of sheltered. And, you know, we were set up to get them coming into their resting spot. And anyway, I don't know. I love it. I love pushing all of it, you know, not just the hunting, but the equipment. Like, can we tell a story in these kind of conditions, you know? Yeah. And my favorite footage that I can remember is always the brutal where, you know, either you had to suffer a little bit in order to bring that clip back and give it to the world. You know, there's a little bit more of I guess it feels a little more rewarding to present that, you know, to the masses to enjoy, because you almost feel like you suffered for them too, you know, because they love it, they're passionate about it, they enjoy the content, and I think it's that much more rewarding versus, you know, you walk on to somewhere that's just a little more cush or a little more easy. You're just not as invested, you know, in the hunt as you might be on another one. Now, don't get me wrong, like, I love going on when I get invited to a club or some private spots. Like, I'm always like, yeah, I'll be there. I love it because I like to kill ducks. You know, I'm not like, I don't want to discriminate killing ducks on private land or public land. It's all good to me. But I think the hunts that maybe I remember more are the ones that were maybe public and a little harder and a little bit, you go a little farther, you know, to make it all happen.
Don't you think during those harsh weather hunts that there's a sense of feeling more alive?
Yeah.
Hunts. Like,
yeah, 100%.
The middle of it. And there's a feeling, I think, that it's something that's coded down in us.
Mm-hmm.
It's the adventure that we lack in the modern society, and just that feeling of, even if there's a little hint of danger, it's even makes it feel a little better, a lot more fun.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're just more invested in every part of that hunt. You know, you put yourself there on your own choice, and you kind of realize those are the moments you're like, this is what duck hunting's about. Yeah. You know, this is why I do this, like, because I'm pursuing the extreme, you know, pursuing something that 99.9% of the population will never ever do. Like, I think that's the thing that has popped into my head when I'm in these places that are just wild, and I'm like, no one does this, you know, at least where I live. And then when you meet another duck hunter, you know, you have this immediate like connection. You're like, we're friends, because we both suffered a little bit in a way together, and we loved it, you know. And that's what makes us crazy. But yeah. So well said. It's good stuff.
Awesome. All right, I think let's jump to some questions. We got some in here already, so we'll jump to those. But if you guys have more questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Cool. Somewhere in Wisconsin, yeah, he did answer that at the beginning. I think it's somewhere around like between 20 and 25. And then somewhere in Wisconsin asks, when you go out on a shoot, do you have a shot list? And also he said, when you film, do you just film and let the story come out or come to life in the editing, or what's your process on that?
Okay, yeah. I think I'll have more of it depends on the film, you know. If we're looking to make something that is more of a product piece, then we'll very much have a shot list for that, you know, if we're trying to show off certain features, or, you know, sometimes you have these shots that you kind of create in your head that are, you know, very hard to accomplish. You know, you have these like imaginary shots of like this perfect moment of, and if we can capture a duck doing this or a dog doing this, you kind of go into the hunt with a goal. I think, like, here are some impossible shots that we've never accomplished and we've never seen anyone else do, but let's see if we can do it. And maybe majority of the time we don't really bring it all the way to the level of our imagination, but we'll meet somewhere in the middle of just trying something, and it kind of will bring out some unique footage, you know, usually that, you know, that we didn't first, you know, haven't done before. So there's that. I think, a lot of times if I have a story I'm telling, I like to at least have a bullet point of like, here are the main things of this character that I'm telling a story about, or an area that I think are important and unique to why this film should be watched, And so knowing those things going into the film will allow you to like kind of think ahead. Like, I need footage to describe this one thing, and yeah. So I don't necessarily have like a shot by shot list unless it's a product piece, but more so, I'm gonna walk in my house and plug in my phone because it's gonna die. So excuse my transitioning shot here, but I want to keep really just more of a bullet point. I think of like, here are the big picture goals. I like to leave room. I don't want to get too boxed in and say like these are the only pieces to that I'm gonna film, because that when I feel like I do that, it gets I don't know. Yeah, I just don't like putting a box around myself with the filmmaking, because being a creative, you're always like trying to learn and something about the scenario, the place you're in, or the people you're filming. And so you stay open, keep your eyes open, your ears open. And I think the biggest thing lately I've been learning with, different stories is trying to get better at filming the audio, capturing really good audio of the people that I'm filming. So yeah.
Awesome. And then JM asks, what kind of cameras do you use and how much?
Like how much? Okay. Like how much cameras, or how many cameras? How many different cameras maybe?
Maybe how often you use each. I don't know exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No problem. So we use quite a little bit of everything. I mean, I think our flagship camera is a red Epic W. So we bit the bullet and invested in one of those with the business. But that, so that, I mean, that's our our most beautiful picture that we get. It's 8K. I don't know. Love that camera. I know that's not the most accessible camera for the average, filmmaker. But yeah, I mean, but we are shooting also like a C300 Mark II. Sometimes we'll run an Odyssey, set up on that to kind of get some better ProRes out of that camera. Even a 5D Mark IV. I mean, I've always, if I'm in a tight scenario and all of a sudden something's happening and I need a camera that's to be able to turn on right away and capture some moment, I'll have a 5D Mark IV near me to grab a shot here and there. And it's funny, sometimes you look at the footage, you're like, man, it looks pretty freaking good compared to sitting next to my 8K red, and footage. But it's that's just how it goes sometimes. But
so those reds are like in a different category, right? They're kind of like called cinema cameras, is that right?
Yeah, so yeah, they're Super 35 camera. They have the big thing that makes a red camera what it is, I mean, is the dynamic range on that camera, the amount of detail it captures in the shadows of a shot. Right now with my crappy iPhone, my hair might look almost black, and my face is exposed. Well, that's because it's the low dynamic range. The more dynamic range you have, you'd be able to see all the detail in like the darker spots and the shadows of an image, versus lower end cameras aren't able to capture that. So so I mean, that's part of it with the dynamic range. Also the global shutter on the red camera, it creates a shutter that isn't jello-y or has that DSLR-ish. It's hard to describe, but that DSLR type look to it. But yeah, I mean, there's no shame, man, in shooting on a DSLR. I mean, you still get an epic picture. I think if a guy was out there right now, watching this and wondering like, what should I get? If you got a budget around $2,000, I would assume like you could get into, Panasonic the GH5S looks pretty dang cool. I haven't shot on one myself yet, but that that camera looks pretty impressive. I mean, like I said, the 5D Mark IV is a great camera. Man, we shot. I don't know if you've seen this one. Excuse my son. He's getting a little whiny. I'm not sure if you've seen this film that we did called The Tendoys, a few years ago. That whole film was shot on a A7R2 and also an FS700 Sony, both Sony cameras. And I look back at that and I'm like, oh, look, the quality looks pretty good. It's not like red footage, but it's still pretty solid. So, yeah, anyway, so those are two other cameras. We have a little bit of everything, that we work with. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
And then
a lot of lenses, a little bit of everything there, probably about every focal length, I think. So. Yeah.
And then we have a couple questions on audio. Carl's asking if you put the audio, or if you like to dub in audio, or better to insert audio during the hunt. And we have a similar question from JM. Yeah. How do you get the audio from the hunters in convos?
Yeah.
And what? Yeah, that's pretty
okay.
Much
yeah, I'll give you a few different pieces of equipment to look at. There is a company called Apogee, and they make a mic that they kind of did a partnership thing with Sennheiser, and they made a lapel mic, a clip mic that you can clip on guys, and it actually runs off an app off your iPhone or an iPod, and we've gotten some pretty freaking good audio off that thing. And then, so if you go to Apogee's website, I think it's on B&H as well. Those little clip mics are great. If all you got is your iPhone out there or something, and you want to get some audio, you can toss that in the guy's pocket and let it roll. A real common way a lot of people use is just getting a lapel set up that's going straight into a camera. So when you hit record, it's recording that audio wirelessly. Usually, like with the Linguist, we would do a combination of a lapel setup and a shotgun mic, on the camera. That was a pretty good combo, because then I had like a mic wherever, on a certain individual, but also capturing that, ambient audio. And I think we've been rolling I'm really bad with it. If someone wants to email me, that I'd be happy to, give them a, more detail on exactly what Sennheiser mic we're running. But, so lapels, I mean, you can always go, like, you can get a Rode or H1, Zoom H1. I mean, those are cheap. You can hook a little lapel mic on those, stick them in someone's jacket, and just let them roll. The only thing is you're gonna have to scrub through a lot of raw audio at the end of it to match up and sync up. And that's one of the beauties of recording audio directly into your camera while you're filming. It's right there, it's ready to roll. You just got to be a little bit more conscious of that. If you're looking to capture that raw audio in the field, you just got to roll a little bit more. You end up using a little bit more memory, you just kind of, a lot of times you'll find yourself just rolling on a scene and not sure if anything's going to really be said or if anything's going to really happen. But, you end up with a lot of clips like that where maybe they were just some dude, whatever, spitting his dip, and, it's just chilling, and that's fine, Sometimes that's great. I mean, I think there's some classic Duck Commander clips like that are just timeless, I don't know if you can remember those days, but yeah. I don't know. I'm a big fan of just capturing raw audio in the field. I mean, it really it's amazing the power of just really capturing those sounds in a marsh, or, breaking ice or whatever, the boat hitting rocks or whatever it is, that stuff can really be powerful. But I think somebody was asking about, either capturing the voiceover later or in the field. I mean, I like a little bit of combination of both. I like to bring people in and out of, feeling like they're there all of a sudden in that moment, and then bringing them out going up to 1,000 feet and kind of looking down on the scenario. And obviously it all depends on what kind of film you're trying to make. If you're making a TV episode for a show, I mean, you're probably going to lean on more of in the field audio and a little bit less of like a studio recording kind of thing. And yeah, it all depends. And at this taste too. I mean, shoot, I mean, I'm one opinion, you know, it's like, there's so many ways to do this, you know? Yeah. But.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's about it for the questions. So
cool.
Elliot, you got anything to add?
I don't. This has been great. It's just been wonderful talking to you and hearing
right
your
on.
perspective and getting to know you. Hopefully we can have you back on at some point. You've been just fantastic.
Yeah,
right
we appreciate you coming on, man. It's been you know, some great information, some great stories, and yeah, we appreciate you coming on. So can you let everyone know where they can find you on social?
Sure. Yeah. If you want to see baby pictures of my son, Benjamin J. Potter on Instagram. Otherwise, if you want to see everything else, that's maybe probably more what you want to see, the Cana Outdoors, the CANA and Outdoors. You can find me on Instagram. I don't really do anything on Facebook, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, you can see we got a handful of films coming out this fall for a bunch of films for Sitka Gear. We got a really cool film coming out for Gunner Kennels, and Tangle Free. We got a film coming out for them. I mean, it's a lot of fun pieces in the works, all waterfowl pieces. So
awesome.
Yeah, so it's gonna be good. We got some ambitious plans for this winter too. So we'll see what happens. You know, see where all the
when did you say that Kansas video was coming out? July?
Yeah, it'll be out in July. So it's coming out soon.
And will that be on your website or the YouTube channel?
Yeah, it'll be on. I'll have it embedded on my site, but it'll be hosted mainly at Sitka Gear.
Okay.
So
cool.
SitkaGear.com. Yeah, great. And so I'm sure you guys will love it. It's we captured some great moments, and we're pretty excited about this story. So
can't wait.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll be keeping an eye out for those.
Love to hear what you think. So it's always encouraging to hear, even if it's bad feedback. I'm all ears.
All right, guys. Well, that's all we got for tonight. You can check out my stuff at Duck Gun Chronicles on YouTube. You can check out Elliot's stuff on Freelance Duck Hunting on YouTube. And we'll see you guys next week.
Right on. Thanks.
Thank you for giving us so much extended time. You really were wonderful to hang in there that long with us. Really enjoyable.
Oh, all good, man. Sorry, my son is just, my wife had to work late, and then I was just trying to.